Hey, it's Rick and Grant from the Brilyant Heathanz Podcast.
How you doing?
It's going on YouTube. Today we have an interesting topic. I think we're going to call it when we do it uh, Men's Health Mondays or
Yeah, it
Mental
works.
Health Mondays.
Like
And
we'll call it Men's Health Monday. We'll just do like a general talk about health.
I think these days, especially mental and physical health, is super important.
So yeah, I agree.
And I want to talk about kind of like my journey that I've had over the past, actually, the start of this year. So at the beginning of this year, I was probably 255 pounds, out of shape, depressed, you know, great family, but just wasn't really happy with myself. Wound up going on a trip for my daughter's 16th birthday up in Salem, Massachusetts. And one thing I wasn't doing a lot of, which I found is very important now, is hydration. Staying hydrated. Make sure that your electrolytes are good, and you have the right vitamins in your body. So we had a long drive from Philly up to Boston, Massachusetts, and we got to a restaurant and started eating. And whole day I was basically living on coffee, and then of course we went to a Mexican restaurant and had a margarita, and I got all the way through my meal and basically passed out at the table. And they had to call an ambulance. And I kind of knew what was going on when I finally woke up, because I had issues in the past with hydration and potassium levels being low. So I kind of knew what was going on at the time. But basically, they came out. I scared my family, my daughter's friend, and they kind of forced me to, like, hey, go with the ambulance, which was the good idea to do at that point. Took me to the hospital and got a couple IVs in me, and come to find out I was right. It was low potassium and being just dehydrated. But for me, being 46-year-old male, um, that was the second time there, that sort of happened to me. And kind of made a decision when I was like, weird. I was driving from the restaurant to the hospital in the back of an ambulance, hearing lights, sirens go on, and dipping out the second time, and them putting a rush on me. It kind of woke me up to, hey, it's time to get control of your life and take care of yourself. Because I do want to be around to experience life with my family and my friends. So kind of went on a journey. Um, so I started with doing I was kind of doing long-term fasting at one point. I think I started off where uh from Sunday night, I wouldn't eat basically till Thursday evening. And I'll tell you what, day 1 and 2, when you do a long-term fast, is hard. Day 3, you actually get a burst of energy, and you actually feel a lot better. I can tell you just from doing fasting, like uh, all the aches and pains that you have in your joints from the inflammation pretty much goes away. Um, and your body just feels better. And when you're just living pretty much on water, your body just craves water. Um, and then after that, I started eating a lot healthier. Um, One other big change was I eliminated alcohol. I would say probably at one point I didn't drink alcohol for almost 2 months, and then I pretty much limit it to the point where now I do, maybe once or twice a week, but I try to stick with just wine and maybe a seltzer. I used to drink a lot of vodka, a lot of rum. Most of my drinks were, if you had a 20-ounce cup, you would have like 8 ounces of a liquor, some soda in there and some juice, and between the alcohol and all the sugar and everything else, it just hard your body. So, right now, I pretty much went from, 2 or 3 different weeks where I was doing the long-term fasting, to a pretty much strict with a 24 intermittent fasting, where for anybody who doesn't know how that works is that you have an eating window that you pretty much live by. So my eating window is from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. And usually that just consists of dinner. And I give myself some type of like small snack, usually nuts or something else. Um, and one thing I will say is when you're doing something like this and you change your lifestyle as time goes on, like you need to reward yourself with cheat days. There are days where I eat whatever I want. There's days where I'll switch it up where I will eat lunch and not eat anything until the following dinner, which a lot of research I've done, when you kind of shock your body in different ways, you start seeing better results as time goes on. So this all really started back in it was like May 1st. And as of today, I started, I think it was at 254.6. And today I was at 200.8.
You lost basically 55 pounds in 6 months. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I'll tell you what, like, just from, I used to work for a chip company who actually were, you and I met at Frito-Lay when we worked there. And years of, getting down, up and down off the back of a truck, working on your knees a lot, servicing, stores. It takes a toll on your body. And I also worked for Coca-Cola for 7 years, and that destroyed your back, my upper back. So putting all that extra weight on, people don't realize, man, if you just go to a gym and pick up 225-pound dumbbells,
walk around with them,
and walk around with them, like it puts a different perspective of how much extra you weigh.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I mean, I feel a lot better. I mean, I don't think my knees have fully come back because just the wear and tear over the years of my job, but overall, like I feel better. Like the other key thing that a lot of research I did is people need to realize how important sleep is. And that's sort of like a different actually health thing is, I back in 2009, I was early on, I was one of the first people that I knew of that got a CPAP machine for sleep apnea. And people don't realize how important sleep is. And another thing is, if you have sleep apnea, you are not breathing when you sleep.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's an Eagles fan, famous defensive lineman Reggie White died from basically a heart attack, and they found it was because he had really bad sleep apnea and he wasn't getting enough oxygen to his brain, which wound up shutting down his heart. So I would tell anybody that, if you snore heavily, you never feel like you get a good night's sleep, whether you sleep 10 hours or 8 hours, getting a sleep study is definitely worth it, because it takes a week or two to get, used to a CPAP machine. But I will say that if I'm an hour away going on vacation and I forgot my machine, I would drive back to get it, because the quality of sleep that you get is ridiculous.
Yep.
So I mean, that's pretty much my health journey that I've had over the last,
you touched on so many things. And I don't even know where to start. So first, I think I would start with talking about, I just read an article about The Rock, of all people, talking about how he suffers from depression, and he didn't realize how bad it was until it was when he got out of shape after college football, before he got into wrestling. He was at his lowest, and he said he started working out again. Like, the reason he works out so much is his working out. He said it doesn't get rid of his depression, but it keeps it away, like, every day. That's why he works out every day, because it's something he battles like all the time. Like, he has, I guess, clinical depression, and there's so much evidence about working out and meditation too, working out in some kind of way, doing something, moving your body. One, in terms of moving fluids and different things around your body, but just how important movement and motion is, but for increasing serotonin and dopamine and all the good chemicals your brain needs. Working out is about one of the best things you can do. Some kind of physical activity. So that's a big piece there. And then earlier when you were talking about hydration. I've been saying this for years. I drink a gallon of water a day. I have since
Yeah.
like
Yep.
way back in the day. I read after I started doing it, because it was recommended to me by a personal trainer, and then I started doing it, and then I read like later on, most people in the world are dehydrated, and even in first world nations, because the minimum amount of water you're supposed to drink in a day, on average, everybody's different, but on average, most people should consume about half a gallon of water, which is I think 32 ounces of water, or something like that.
And it's not a lot.
Yeah, or no, I think 64 is a half gallon. 128 is a gallon.
Yeah. But I mean, even that's not really a lot.
Like what? It's only like 4 or 5 bottles of water or something, of like the little bottles of water in a case of water. Like it's crazy how it's not really that much, but most people don't, because and that's just water. People think if I drink tea and I drink coffee and I drink soda and I drink seltzer water, all these things, like that counts. But it's those things have different impacts on your body, and mostly they're not good. So
yeah,
those really don't count. Like when they say a half gallon of water, they mean just water, like unadulterated water. So I drink a gallon of water in addition to tea, and then with one of my drinks of my gallon, I do like amino acids, because I try to work out every day. I don't work out, and this is the other thing. Sleep. I suffer from crazy insomnia. I always have since I was a little kid. Runs in my family. My family does, but gotten into meditation, some other things before bed, and I sleep so much better now. And that was one of the other things I've read in the last few years. Sleep may be the most important thing after hydration that you can do for your health, especially if in terms of physical health, weight loss, everything. Like sleep and hydration are like two of the most important things. And then the other thing is diet. And for me, like it's funny. I used to work out every day, go to the gym. Like I still do 300 to 500 push-ups and sit-ups every day. But I used to go to the gym and run and do that on top of the sit-ups, and I would go to do my martial arts and everything. And I was always in shape, but I was always heavier than I am now. And the next biggest thing is diet. Like, and I just read a few years ago, no matter how much you work out, you can't outrun a bad diet.
Yep.
And I never thought my diet was bad, but then I started looking at stuff, and I kind of do almost like a personal chef service now. And I don't work out nearly as much because I started playing sports when I was 4, and I've done gymnastics and baseball and soccer, and dabbled in wrestling. I've been doing martial arts since I was 7. I've been doing fighting or training fighters since the early 2000s. Like I've been getting my body beat on I'll be 46 in a month. I've been getting my body beat on for the last 42 years, basically, on a near daily basis. And I have a ton of injuries. The only ligament that's attached to my left knee is my ACL. Everything else is torn, including the cartilage. My right knee is not good. I've broken both ankles. I've broken both feet multiple times, tons of toes, fingers, shoulder issues. I got nerve damage. I got, in my neck. I've got all kinds of stuff. Like it's tons of issues. And I used to lift really heavy all the time. I always was hurt. And I think I was lifting too much and trying to ignore the injuries and doing I'm a guy, I can train through this, and that's kind of what we're Generation X. Like that's kind of what they taught us. Like,
yep.
I remember hearing, are you injured or are you hurt? If you're hurt, you can keep training. The only time you stop training is if you have an injury that requires a surgery or near surgery, So, so I've always trained through injuries that I've always discounted as not being injuries because I could still move, So I was like, I'm just hurt. I'll train through it. And come to find out now, as I get older, I've had a ton of major injuries that I just ignored. And in the last 2 years, like I was trying to go to the gym, and I was just had numbness in my arms from the neck stuff, and my knees were shot, and I was trying to run, and everything hurt. And probably in the last year, I've been in better shape because I'm eating better. I'm not beating on my body as much. I'm smarter about how I work out. I'm back to a point where I can see my abs. Like I can, and it's funny because I'm older, but I'm actually in a better shape than I was probably in my 30s, in a lot of ways. So but it's also I've gotten smarter and I've read, and then again, like all these things, it's so important that people pay attention to this kind of stuff. Take your injury seriously, hydrate, proper eating. When you work out smartly. Don't kill yourself. Don't fall into these toxic ideas of, I got to be so big, or, I got to have, 1 or 2 rep maxes of so much weight, and all these things that we fall into these traps that end up hurting us in terms of physically and over the long term, because we're not thinking of the important things. And again, sleep, hydration, proper diet, being concerned about your mental health. Like if you're feeling a certain way, talking to someone, there's nothing wrong with talking to someone about whatever you're going through. That's one of the things we'll have to talk about this on another show, but it ties into this because I think the internet, as beautiful of a technological marvel and gift it was, has been maybe more of a curse in terms of what's happened to the world, mental health wise, and just everything. Like sociologically, the internet has been so incredibly destructive. But that also plays into these tropes and these beliefs of, the whole influencer culture, or the whole like seeing stuff on Instagram and guys, I want to be, I want to have arms of a certain size and pecs of a certain size, and hit these maxes on these rep maxes, and post it all for the gram. And it's like, you don't see the people who are trying to be like the influencers don't see the injuries the influencers are going through. Don't see, which come out in recent months recent months and years. A lot of these influencers, the fitness ones, are doing steroids. They're not really doing a lot of their own training as they show. They actually have personal trainers that they don't show on camera. Like all these things, they're getting surgeries. The women are getting butt lifts and breast jobs, and they're getting these manufactured bodies that look perfect. And the guys on the same thing a lot of ways. The guys are getting liposuction and like crazy, so they're shredded and all these things. And people are trying to fit into these molds that are impossible. And to get there, they're doing everything wrong and just injuring themselves. And down the line, the long-term repercussions, when you're in your teens and 20s and even early 30s, you don't think that there's going to come a time when you're broken down and you are as depressed or feel as horrible as possible because of what you did to yourself trying to meet somebody else's standard, which is not even real. So it's we definitely need to have at some point a conversation about the wild west of the internet. So
and so there's a lot to open with that one too. So I'll go back to, like you said, about the whole the Rock and how he was depressed. And I'll tell you, man, it's I would say I never, I was never suicidal, but I'll tell you what, like I didn't like myself. I was definitely ashamed of the way I looked. And I'll tell you what, like it feels weird now, because when people haven't seen you in a long time, like they compliment how you look good and everything else. And even in my mind now, I mean, I've dropped 50 pounds. I look a lot better. I feel a lot better, but I'm still insecure about myself, the way I look.
Yeah.
And that may or may not ever go away.
You have created almost like an avatar for yourself in your own head.
Yes.
And it's hard to change that. Yeah. That's a common thing. And I think one of the most dangerous things about depression is the word, like that word carries such a image and a stigma from all these things we saw, really from going back to the 50s and the 60s and the 70s and the 80s, these TV shows and stuff. Depressed people were crazy people, like all these things. And people saying that I'm depressed, the first thing most people ask you is, are you suicidal?
Yep.
And it's like, well, I don't want to talk about that. Like I don't feel suicidal, but all this conversation is making me not feel good. So
Yeah.
it's like this spiral, and it's funny because like the best thing you can do if you're feeling that way is to talk, but like the way people react to it, and
Yeah.
our own stuff that we have in our head from things we've seen in media about what that term means, it makes people reluctant to talk about it, and then it just creeps up on you where it gets worse and worse and worse, and that's when people really do get suicidal or really really in bad positions because they don't want to tell anybody. So it's depression is
And
it's scary. Yeah.
yeah, and that goes back to your point about how bad social media is now. I mean, and so having a conversation with my son's 13 years old, and I mean, he thinks they've going on YouTube and all these other platforms. Today, kids think that like you don't make $1 million, like that's it. Like they have no concept of what money is and everything else. And I mean, like both like my two older daughters, I've always, listen, if you want money, you got to go work for it. Like I'm not a bank, I'm not an ATM. I mean, I can try to help you here and there, but at the end of the day, you got to earn your money. And that's the same thing I do with my son. Like, I mean, he's very good at saving, but at the end of the day, when he wants something, like, all right, what are you going to do for it? Are you going to, but I think the expectations of what goes on in social media is really hurting our children. I mean, how many kids today commit suicide because of what someone said to them on Twitter or what somebody said to them on Facebook?
Yeah.
And I know a lot of times, like all these kids are soft. It's like they're over stimulated with you have to look a certain way. You have to look a supermodel. You have to have that body and everything else. And it's just it's horrible, man.
I don't think it's even so. There's a lot to unpack. I don't think that's even being soft. Like the again, one of the dangers of the internet. Like when we were younger, if there was a bully or whatever, we fought a lot. But there were places. Amazing how many grown men I talk to who have never been in a fight who are not much younger than us or even our age. I'm just like, I don't know how you grew up. Like I grew up fighting like all the damn time. Like that's just, and maybe that's just part of growing up in this area. Like
Yeah.
But I mean, but so kids don't really fight anymore, and there's and I'm that's probably a good thing, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But the other thing is the bullies stayed at school or at the gym or whatever. Like the internet, the bully finds a bunch of friends who are also going to bully you, and they bully you everywhere. There's
Yes.
no getting away from it.
I've seen people get trolled and
Yeah,
and every time they go online, it's like
it's there.
troll, and it's multiple people. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, and it's terrible. And most of it's just lies and nonsense, and it ruins people's lives, sometimes forever. Like that stuff stays on the internet forever, and it's yeah. So it's I don't think the kids are soft at all. But the other thing is there are a lot of adults. It's not just kids.
Yeah.
Dude, I go on Reddit a lot. I really don't do Facebook. I think Facebook is toxic. I kind of do Instagram, but I usually just go on and look for like most of my follows are like comedy stuff, like because it's toxic. But one of the places I do kind of lurk, I don't ever post or comment, is on Reddit.
Yeah.
Follow it's called the Tinder forum, but it's all the different dating apps. They talk about all the different dating apps. And these guys 35 and under, man, whew, not even guys, people. Because I see the women post stuff, and I'm just like, why would anybody say that to someone? Like it's horrible. Some of the comments women get if they don't want to date a guy, or if they're matching and the guy just is trying to insist on sex before the first date, and the woman's like no, and all the horrible stuff. Like but like there's a lot, like literally every day there'll be multiple posts about looking at somebody's Tinder profile or somebody getting turned down because they're too short, or after they talk to them, their teeth are off, like all these like little things. But the whole being too short is like a very common thing. And you see profile after profile after profile where women are looking for guys who are 6'1" or taller. And it's like being over 6 foot is I think it's only like 8% of the entire world or something. Like it's a
A very small percentage. Yeah.
it's incredibly rare. Like it's not a common thing. Like that's a small pool. And then women are complaining they don't meet guys, and it's like you're all looking for the same 10 guys. Like
Yeah.
that's a small pool. Like and a lot of the women that do that are short. I can see if the woman herself is 5'10", 5'11",
Yeah.
whatever. But a lot of these women are like 5', 5'2", 5'3", 5'4", and it's like, like you can't date a guy that's your height or just a little taller? Like it's insane. It's this. Somebody at some point said this is the box that we want our men to fit in. And again, it came on the internet, and all these women went, "That makes sense. We're all going to go with the same guy." And there's only there's a handful of guys that fit that mold.
Yeah.
You can't complain that you're not meeting somebody when you're not giving anybody else a chance because you've already determined based on physical characteristics of height, which nobody has any control over, that you're not. But dude, I'll be honest, I've dated a lot of people. Like I dated a lot of people. When I was dating though, that happened to me more than once, even with older women who were like, I had 2 or 3 instances where older women matched with me just to tell me, you'd be perfect if you were 2 or 3 inches taller. And I'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. You're 5 foot. You're 5'2".
Yeah.
like what? Like I'm, like I'm. By the way, I'm 5'9". Like I'm 5'9" in bare feet. Like I'm not short, but I'm not tall. And I am very honest about that. And one of the things they said, a lot of guys lie about their height. And they'll say they're like, they'll say they're 5'9" or 5'10", but they're really like 2 or 3 inches shorter. I'm like, no, I'm legitimately 5'9", but they're
right.
Like so many of these women are looking for a guy who's 6 foot or taller. So even I've experienced that. So it's not even necessarily just younger men. I've seen that. But like there was a girl or a woman I was talking to, and after we were talking for a while, she was like, man, I really like you. The problem is I set my radius on meeting somebody within 20 miles, and you live 22 miles away, and I just don't. Dude, I saved the conversation. I swear to God. And I'm just like, and I said that 2 miles really makes a difference. She was like, it's just my principle, and I'm not backing off of that. And I'm like,
wow.
Yeah. And I was just like, so we've talked for like 3 days, and you've determined you really like me. But because I live 2 miles outside of your pre-established radius,
yeah,
and she was pretty hot, so she probably had like a lot of options. But I'm just like, just don't match because it shows where you are. You know what I mean? It's like there's so many things like that just don't make any sense. And I'm sure. And again, I'm not bashing women because I'm sure there are a million guys that do the same thing, right?
Yeah.
But it's so dumb. And again, this is like people have predetermined that this is going to be my parameters for the person I meet and fall for. And it's like, in general, I think the online dating, the internet, again, the online dating has made people believe that meeting someone is just as snap of the finger. I'll jump online and I'll meet a person and I'm good to go. And it's meeting someone and making a relationship work is such a rare thing, to be quite honest. I mean, it's not relationships that work over the long term require so much compromise and commonality and all these things. And that's a rare thing. And people just go, I'm just gonna set these parameters. And I, again, like to me, that's a function of some abnormal processing, some mental health issue that's not being addressed. Like you're too afraid to go beyond your own box, your own boundaries, and meet someone because of something that you need to address in therapy or something. Like there's something that you need to talk about with someone that says it's okay to date somebody who lives 2 miles beyond where you wanted to. It's okay to date somebody.
She did you a solid, in my opinion, because if she's
about it. I'm just sharing.
Yeah, I mean, if she's that screwed up that 2 miles is a big thing, she's got some other issues going on that you would have. If she would have got past the 2 miles, it would have been something else. Like,
but I let me and Nicole laugh about it. We've talked about a bunch of different our dating before we met our dating issue, like our the people we've dated, crazy people we've dated or tried to or talked to or whatever. But it's just it's just wild that this machine, this device, the internet, this app function, whatever you want to call it, should have been the greatest miracle in human history. And
Yes.
I think it's destroyed us in a lot of ways.
No, I agree. And it's I think going back to relationships, like I've been married since 2005, so we're 17 years of a marriage. I can honestly tell you that, marriage is tough. Like,
Yeah,
there are times where, listen, both my parents are divorced 3 times. So clearly they believe in marriage just to
yeah,
multiple people.
yeah,
But I mean, marriage is not easy. I can say that, for our first 10 years were, a roller coaster. And a lot of that came into, issues with, children and everything else, and just learning each other and learning compromise. I mean, it's you can't fight every battle. Like you just,
yeah,
you can't, you're not right all the time.
yeah,
I'm hardly ever right. Sometimes no, but when I'm right, and I'll stick to it. But I mean, at
yeah.
the end of the day, it's like you really, and I think that's the other thing too. And I think people expect every relationship to be completely perfect and nothing's ever going to happen. And it's like, that's not reality. Not reality at all. Like every relationship that people have takes work, and you have to work together as a team. And if you can't do that, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah, but the idea of team doesn't mean the same thing to everyone, and
Yeah.
that's and again, like it's tough finding somebody you can be on the same page on most things about is really hard, and again, like for people to set these very hard, I feel they're bizarre, people believe whatever they want to believe, but these hard boundaries, and they're pretty arbitrary, and go, that's it, that's my boundary, and not being willing to compromise or give any wiggle room. Like I think you're just setting yourself up for failure, and again, like there's so many other mental health issues we can talk about, but like these are mental health issues that contribute to people having, or are a function of people having depression and anxiety and all these things. And a lot of times, because of, again, that negative stigma with mental health treatment, that stuff for a lot of people has never been diagnosed and has gone untreated. Um, and they're not doing themselves any favors, and they're contributing to their own um, further issues. They're contributing to their own depression and whatever further issues, because they haven't addressed whatever else is going on. And it's one of the things that we should always come back, keep talking about physical health, exercise. Definitely keep talking about mental health, because I think the two things go hand in hand.
No, they do, because I'll tell you, going back to not only doing the fasting and changing my diet, um, the big thing was getting in the routine where I have to work out 3 times a week, and I stick to 3 times a week, because I give I usually I work out a day, give my a day, uh, my body a day, and then work out a day, and for like 5 months I've been very same routine. I do planks, push-ups, I do some basic band workouts. I first time I went to the gym was this weekend, because my a friend of mine asked me if I wanted to meet him at the gym, and that was the first time I've gone in 6 months. Actually, probably like 8 months. Um, but you don't have to spend a lot of time either. Like I think for the first 4 months, my workout was 19 minutes, because I have it on my Fitbit. I do every exercise for 1 minute, 10-second rest, next exercise, and I finish my workout and I'm done. It
Yeah,
takes 20 minutes a day,
yeah,
and it makes a world of a difference. And to your point, the better, I mean, you're putting out that extra energy is good for you, and it makes you feel better. And as time goes on and you feel like your arms are getting bigger and you're getting more solid and you're losing body fat, like you feel a lot better about yourself. And then also you're just everything. Like I'm super, I was always a positive guy, but now I'm more positive than I've ever been,
Yeah.
and I think that, just taking that time, and, putting, like I said, some people like to go to the gym. Hey, to go to the gym, but you could start at home, and
Absolutely.
you don't have to be super crazy with your exercise and everything else. You can be very basic.
Yeah. And you can buy, like, I have kettlebell and dumbbell and medicine ball. I got a bunch of stuff here that, like, that's stuff you can have in your house. Pull up bar, like, there are things you can do in your house. You don't have to have a gym membership. I like the gym membership because like I said, I used to be into lifting heavier weights, and running, and because of my knees, and all the injuries, running on concrete, which I still like to do in the spring. Stupid, but I just like being out, in the spring weather. Running on concrete beats my knees up, but running on a treadmill is not too bad. I can run on a treadmill 3-4 times a week, and I really can't do that on concrete anymore. So, that was the thing for me. I would go to the gym and get heavier weights in, and do some running, and that was what I like going to the gym for. But again, like, you can get solid workouts in your house. Just invest in a couple pieces of some basic equipment, and you can be okay. But again, it comes down to sleep, hydration, diet. Like, those are the big things. Always going to be the biggest things.
And I'll tell you what, one thing I've found very, like, there's so many good apps
Yeah,
that you can,
yeah,
and you can just use your own body weight. I mean, you could do 50 squats, just going up and down, and
yeah.
using your body weight, and same
That's a
thing with
good way.
push-ups.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely smart. Absolutely. Yep.
And there's so many apps out there now that are free that you can use to, for all these exercises that you can do from home.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
All right. Well, hey, I think this is a good stop for tonight. Like I said, I think it's a good idea that we definitely get, and every couple of weeks do, like a Men's Health Monday, and just talk about, physical, mental health. Um, and yeah.
I like it. Sounds good.
All right, everybody.
All
Well,
right.
I hope everybody has a great night, and I know the Thanksgiving holiday is coming up, so I hope everybody has a great holiday, and happy Thanksgiving.
I think we got another show work before Thanksgiving.
We probably do. Yeah, we do. But
Yeah.
we'll end it this way.
Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
I'll talk to you later. See you.
All right, brother.